We are here in step 6. Remember, there's 8 steps, so we are almost done, and we are on the many-to-many relationships. The first thing we're going to do is identify the many-to-many relationships before we even do any of these steps. So let's go look at our course registration table and see if we can find any many-to-many. We saw this is already, we know that's one-to-one. We have one on this side and many on this side, so this is a one-to-many. This one, student and section, has a many and then a many on this side. So this student and section relationship is actually many-to-many. And then this between section and course, we have a many, but we have a one on the side of course. So that means that we only have the one many-to-many relationship here. And so we are going to now follow the steps for creating this many-to-many relationship within our diagram. So the first thing we'll do for this relationship is create a new associative table. One thing you'll know about database table diagramming is that you cannot have a many-to-many relationship. You have to resolve that relationship by making a new table to break up that many-to-many multiplicity. So I'm going to jump in here and we're going to create a new associative table between student and section. And let's jump back over here. We've just created that new table. We will give it another name. Let's give it a name. It doesn't tell us to name it here, so I'm going to go ahead and name it. And typically, if there is not a name that would make sense, you can do something like student section. That is one way to name the table. Just take the two tables that you're resolving the relationship between and name your associative table after both of them. But a lot of times there is a name that would make sense. So a student and a section, those you are going to have something called a registration, and that will include both the student and the section. So every student has a registration. Oh my goodness, my keys. Okay, and so that's what we're going to call our associative table. And so the next step would be to include a foreign key in the associative table for each of the related tables. So we're going to come over here and we're going to include a foreign key for each of them. And so let's see here. And we're actually, in this particular scenario, what I like to do is make my primary key a combination of both of my foreign keys. So I have a W number. So we're taking the primary key here and putting it into registration as a foreign key. And since this is both it's going to be my primary key and my foreign key, I'm going to specify it as both. But it can only be my primary key because I'm going to pull this in here and add it right here. Because I have two primary keys that are used as I have two foreign keys that I'm going to use as my primary key. So here we go. We have the CRN of section as a foreign key, the W number of student as another foreign key, and the combination together is a primary key. So we mark them as both foreign keys and primary keys. So with primary keys, it should be noted that you can do combinations of foreign keys to create a primary key, or a combination of, of attributes to create a primary key. Jumping back over here, we have choose a primary key for the associative table. This may be a combination of two foreign keys. So I just jumped through that one. We just did that one. Now we're going to add additional attribute if it defines the relationship. So in my table, I have just the two foreign keys and that make up the primary key, but every registration is also going to have a grade. So when I am a student and I take a section of 2450, that we're going to call that a registration. Okay, so they registered for that class, that semester, that section. And so that section and student combined is going to have a grade associated with it. We're going to add relationship lines connecting the primary keys of the original tables to the foreign keys of the associative table. So now I'm going to add a line between W number and W number, and another line between section or CRN and CRN here. And the way we set this up is going to be specific. So I'm going to first draw my lines and then we'll deal with the multiplicity afterwards. So W number to W number, and then CRN to CRN. Now, the way that we determine the multiplicity is going to be based off of what's in our diagram. So we have 0 to many on the side of student and 0 to many on the side of section. So that means that a student can be associated with 0 to many sections. So a student does not need to have a section to be a student, right? They don't need to have any sections, but once they start applying and getting into classes, then they will have a section added to their list. A section does not need to have a relationship with a student. It can exist all by itself, but once it does have a section, it will start adding those students to the section. And so we want to carry that logic over here. So a student can be associated with 0 or many registrations, right? So a student can be associated with many 0 or many sections. So we're going to use that here. Oh, darn it. Sometimes it does that when you double click. So and I didn't mean to double click. You want to click on the line and then come over here and choose 0 or many. So that's going to be down here. It's the crow's foot notation. Where's my 0? 0 or many. And then think about this, a registration, in order for this table to exist, in order for a registration to exist, it needs to be associated with a student. So this is always going to be 1 to 1, or 1 and only 1 is what I meant to say. 1 and only 1 here. Okay, and then we have a section can be associated with how many students. They can be associated with 0 or many students, and so it's the same thing here with registration. So I'm going to change that over here to 0 or many. And then it's the same thing here. A registration record can't even exist without a section record in it, or a section field. And so we need to make sure that this is specified as one and only one. And there you go. We have resolved our many-to-many relationship here in our class diagram, and it's been mapped over to our new database table diagram. So there's our many-to-many example.